Welcome to the ultimate guide to finding the best New York City apartment without being scammed by shady brokers and facing a cockroach infestation 2 months later. If you have been following my channel and my videos, you know that I recently posted a apartment makeover video as well as a goodbye LA video, as I have recently, or not so recently, moved from LA to New York City. I managed to cop some really good pandemic deals and discounts, and I will share all the hacks with you guys. So I'll start by giving some basic apartment hunting hacks and tips for those adulting for the very first time, and then I'll give you a virtual tour of every single apartment that I visited. Number 1, timing is key because the New York City housing market moves super fast. When I was moving, I flew from LA to Philly and I quarantined in Philly, and then I took a bus to New York and did my entire apartment hunt in one day. So it was basically this like wild goose chase across Manhattan. I believe I walked a half marathon that day with my roommate looking for an apartment, and I believe we visited around roughly 11 to 15 places all in one day, and then we decided by the end of the day and we signed a lease, got approved, and moved in about 5 days later. As for timing, I went to New York a little over maybe a week before I actually moved into my apartment. However, make sure you check the new New York City quarantine guidelines, as sometimes you have to like quarantine for 10 days depending on where you're coming from. Number 2, you do not need a broker. So what the hell is a broker? I didn't know that either when I was first searching for an apartment, but basically a broker is someone who is kind of like a mediator between these apartment management companies as well as you yourself. So they try to match you with apartments and they get a percentage of the fees. But for New York City, it is actually a huge chunk. I think 15% actually goes towards a broker fee. So you can save thousands and thousands of dollars just by not getting a freaking broker. However, sometimes you can finesse a free one, but usually they're hard to come by. Number 3, know how to navigate Street Easy. Street Easy is probably one of the best platforms to help you find an apartment in New York City. So the first thing you want to think for yourself is, what location do I want to be in and what is my budget? And using basic filters on the website, you can then filter out which apartment listings that you want to see. There's so many apartment listings on Street Easy and in New York City that sometimes it might be super overwhelming. So what I personally recommend to do is pick a couple of neighborhoods you really want to live in, and then do one neighborhood at a time so you can exhaust that one list first, save all the links of the ones that you really like, and then just move on to the next neighborhood, or else it will just be like a fuckload of just info thrown at your brain. In addition, there is a yes/no fee filter. So what is the fee? It's kind of like a broker's fee. So they will tell you if an apartment will charge additional broker's fee or not charge an additional broker's fee. So for me, I put no, because what I found was that you can find really decent apartments that charge no fee. Actually, most of them are no fee. But beware of no fee, and always ask before you sign an apartment if there are any additional fees. Because sometimes they would be like, oh, no fees on Street Easy just solely means that you don't get charged like a broker fee or something like that. But it might not include like one-time like move-in, move-out fees, or deposits, or some sort of like, there's even like, if you live in a condo, they charge like additional like $1,000 like condo fee. Make sure you clear other factors such as utilities. Will they include utilities or not include utilities? Also, if anyone tries to charge you for water, they're trying to scam you, because fun fact, water is free in New York City and you should not be charged for it. Okay, next we're gonna explain what is a net effective rent versus gross rent. This confused the fuck out of me. And the key advice is to always ask for both the gross rent as well as the net effective rent. The gross rent means the true value of the apartment or the true price of the apartment before any discounts or concessions. The net effective rent is the price of the rent after any discounts or concessions. So you can just think of one as pre-discount and the other one as post-discount. So usually rent discounts and concessions are offered as 2 months free off of 12 months or 3 months free off of 18 months, and I'll explain how that works. So let's say your gross rent is $1,000, which is totally wishful thinking for New York City, but I'm just using $1,000 as an easy number for the example. And they are giving you 2 months free off a 12-month contract. So instead of paying $1,000 times 12 months, which is $12K, you will now be paying $1,000 times 10 months, which is $10K. So then they will divide $10K by 12 months to get a monthly rent price of $833, and that will be what is so-called your net effective rent price. There's a lot of great discounts right now in New York City due to the pandemic and not as many people moving in, so you can probably snag a pretty bougie place for a price that is within your budget. However, I think you should still be cautious depending on how long your contract is and how frequently you're willing to move. You don't want to be stuck in a situation where you want to stay in your current apartment after your current contract, but the rent price hikes up extremely and you won't be able to afford it and you'll be forced to move out. Some people don't mind moving and that's okay, so just keep that in mind. If possible, try to negotiate a discount that is longer than 12 months, so at least something like 18 months, just so that you can lock in more of those pandemic prices if you know that you will be still living in New York City. Next topic, I'm going to talk about applications, which can sometimes be a pain in the ass. So before you get to sign a contract for an apartment, you have to apply and they have to approve you. So first of all, the application fee. In New York City, it's pretty standard to have a $20 application fee. I think that should be standardized. If someone tries to charge you more than $20 for the freaking application fee, you should try to negotiate it down and call them out on it. Additionally, keep in mind that New York City has an income requirement that your wage should be 20 to 50 times the amount of your rent. So yes, that is crazy and that is a lot, but that is New York City for you. Or you have someone called a guarantor who may be a parent or a guardian who earns 80 times the rent on your apartment. So what documents do you actually need to apply for an apartment? So first, to meet the income requirement, you need some sort of proof of pay, so about 2 to 3 months worth of pay stubs. However, if you're like me and you're moving to New York to start a new job for the first time, make sure you have an offer letter ready with your annual salary listed on it, or you can email your HR department of whatever company you're working for to ask for a proof of income document or something like that. Most apartments take offer letters, just be careful, some don't. Then you will need photo IDs, sometimes tax returns, a credit score check. So if you don't know your credit score, a lot of times if you have a credit card, they usually have services in the mobile or online portal that allows you to check your credit score. If you're confused, you can call your bank and just ask them if they can check your credit score for you, and usually they would include that as a complimentary service. And lastly, you will need a I-20 if you're an international student or a international moving to New York. So next, I'm going to talk about some pandemic hacks. Like what I said before, a lot of places are offering 2 months off of a 12-month lease or a 3 months off of an 18-month lease. So definitely try to grab at least one of those discounts, as that is kind of the base market discounts going around. Honestly, negotiations is key. Negotiations was probably the single-handedly most useful class I took in business school. So try not to express too much interest in an apartment before you get a good deal. For a lot of areas to negotiate in, you can negotiate in amenities fees, because a lot of apartments charge an additional fee to use the rooftop or the gym or something like that. Because of COVID-19, it's very easy to negotiate because the gym has limited capacity or it's completely closed, to reduce your amenities fees down to $0, and I was able to do that for many apartments that I looked at. In addition, you can try to negotiate some of the one-time fixed fees. So sometimes like apartments will charge move-in fees or move-out fees that are actually pretty hefty. When I was looking at this really nice condo apartment in New York City, there was a $1,000 condo fee, and I literally negotiated and I was like, hey, can you waive the entire condo fee? And he was like, sure, why not? And you just saved $1,000 because you asked. The power of negotiation. Then we have the topic of flex or no flex. If you plan on moving in with a roommate, a New York City classic way of being more cost efficient and being cheap and saving money is installing a flex wall. So typically that would mean an apartment that is actually just 1 bedroom, but you have a third-party installer come in and just place a freaking wall that divides the living room into 2, so it creates like a tiny bedroom as well as keeping like 1/2 of the living room as the living room itself. However, before you consider that, most apartments don't cover fees for installing a flex wall, and typically the New York City rent of putting in a flex wall is $1,000, and you will also need to pay additional $1,000 when you move out to take the wall down. Also, you want to clarify with your landlord that it is okay for you to put in the flex wall and kind of where to put in the flex wall due to all these weird requirements with like fire sprinklers and like safety regulations, etc. Next tip, you really want to hone in on what are the deal breakers for you and your roommate regarding your apartment. For example, something I never thought of was north versus south versus east versus west facing windows. So one of mine and my roommate's deal breakers was natural lighting. We must find an apartment that has good natural lighting, especially because we're quarantined and seasonal depression and we don't want to get into that big mess. However, there are crazy differences between south facing windows and north facing windows, because north facing windows actually never get direct sunlight all year round, and in general, like the light is very cool looking and even tone. In comparison, south facing windows, which is what my my apartment has direct sunlight all year round, and the light that comes in is typically more warm tone. Other factors you may want to consider: do you want an apartment with an elevator? Do you want an apartment that's a walk-up? Do you want a doorman or no doorman? What location do you want? Do you want proximity to the subway, proximity to work? Is the area safe, which is, as sad as it is, way more important for women because we are just living in fear all the fucking time. The next tip is for tours. Never ever sign a lease until you see the exact apartment unit in person. Unless you have some sort of health restriction, I do not recommend just solely relying on photos, virtual tours, etc. because a lot of those times they are not representative at all of the actual apartment unit. Even in person, don't rely on visiting a test unit or a sample unit because sometimes the people giving the tours might show you like a different unit and they're like, oh, like the one you want to look for is like exactly the same, but it's just occupied right now, or it's still going over like renovation or something like that. You must see the actual apartment with your own eyes. Do not believe what anyone tells you, because a lot of times people try to like show you like this really nice like model apartment, and then your actual apartment looks actually quite different. So make sure you bring a measuring tape when you come visit the apartments to measure the apartment yourself, because sometimes floor plans are not very accurate. And also, having tape just helps with planning out furniture orientation and maybe ordering furniture in advance. Alright, that's all the tips, so now I'm going to shut up and show you all the beautiful apartments that I visited. If you want to see the one I actually ended up with, you can go to my apartment tour and makeover video that I will have linked at the end card. Apartment 1 is located in Chelsea and it's gorgeous. Chelsea is one of my favorite neighborhoods in New York City because of the overall vibe, proximity to the High Line, and good coffee shops on every corner, and also a basic girl Sunday brunch spot also on every corner. I love the floor-to-ceiling windows on this apartment, the hardwood floors, and this gorgeous view from the 21st floor. The kitchen is also stunning. I love me some stainless steel action. Also, this apartment has hella built-in storage. Here's the bathroom, and both bedrooms, the first bedroom and second bedroom, has gorgeous windows, and both rooms have built-in closets, which is actually really hard to come by in New York City 2-bedroom apartments. Oftentimes only one bedroom has a closet inside. My roommate and I took note of every apartment using a summary sheet like this. Highly recommend. This is basically old school Excel. Next apartment is in West Village, another personal favorite neighborhood of mine for its charm. This apartment is more of a traditional brownstone walk-up. The living room and windows were a bit smaller but still have plenty of natural lighting and hardwood floors. Open kitchen with stainless steel again, gorgeous. The bedrooms were a bit smaller, which is to be expected with a lot of apartments in West Village, but bedroom 2 also has this weird cage thing on the window, and I was not a fan, especially since you already feel holed up and jailed up at home with COVID and the quarantine.
Cage and build it yourself.
I just want to start a great big place.
The bathroom was also tiny. Like, look at how tiny that sink is. And that's New York City for you guys. The next apartment was in Hell's Kitchen, another great area with amazing restaurants and good proximity to Central Park.
I just want to. I just want to start a great big place.
The bedrooms have this nice view that look out into a green courtyard.
I just want to. I just want to start a great big place.
The bathrooms I love because they're so bright and renovated.
I just want to.
The master bedroom is pretty big with a massive open closet concept, which I felt like I would have adored, and a bathroom inside the main room, which is super helpful.
I just want to start a great big play out in your heart.
The kitchen was the biggest letdown of this place because it feels so cramped and dingy, and I love cooking as I almost cook every single meal I eat, and for me cooking is also a de-stressing activity, and I want that physical space to accommodate that sense of peace instead of feeling holed up.
And say, okay, life's a fact. People do.
The next apartment has a gorgeous living room space with beautifully renovated wood floors, but this is a flex apartment, which means the inner right side of the area you're seeing will actually be turned into another bedroom. They would also have to fill that space between the room and the kitchen, and personally we weren't a fan of that island sticking out.
That's anybody's got for real happiness.
The kitchen is gorgeous once again. Bedroom itself has beautiful large windows with a great view, and the closets are also massive. This apartment doesn't have a rooftop, but it does have a really nice courtyard area. The next place is in the more new and thriving neighborhood of Midtown West / Hudson Yards. First of all, it has a gorgeous as fuck lobby. Like, what the fuck? The apartment itself is gorgeous and has a balcony with an incredible city view. However, this one is also a flex, but the cutoff was weird in a way where the balcony access would be inside one of our rooms, which is really nice for one person, but the balcony should really be accessible to both of us. The pattern on the floor is also a bit weird and I was not a fan, but look at this fucking view. Like, I would kill for this view. It's gorgeous. The kitchen is also gorgeous with a window, which is always a plus. The more windows, the better. presidential bedroom is also beautifully lit with a lot of space.
Darling, you send me, I know you send me. Darling, you send me, I know you send me.
The rooftop on this place also has a gorgeous city view. This place also has a gym, which is something I had on my list because I work out quite a bit and don't want to pay an expensive as fuck Equinox gym membership or any other New York City gym membership. This apartment is also in Hell's Kitchen and has gorgeous lighting and windows. This kitchen, however, is probably one of my favorites that I visited, as it is an absolute dream with a large window and modern appliances.
Darling, you send me. Darling, you send me. You send me. You send me. Darling, you.
Bedroom 1 is also gorgeous with nice floor-to-ceiling windows. I feel like the floor-to-ceiling windows 100% provide way more natural lighting. The weird thing about this apartment is that there is in-unit laundry, which is great, but it's inside one of the bedrooms, which is super odd as it should probably be in the common space. Is also one of the favorites that I have visited. Like, look at that window.
Darling.
But the downside and why we didn't pick this apartment was that bedroom 2 was oddly tiny. The next place is another unit in the same apartment with a slightly different layout and features. This is what I meant in that not all units were created equal and there might be some differences that might make or break the choice. In addition, you can also ask the building for the price differentials for different layouts and features. The bathroom and kitchen in this version doesn't have windows, which means significantly less lighting. Was also in Hell's Kitchen with a gorgeous white marble lobby, and it is actually a condo complex, which is similar but will usually charge an additional condo fee. The open layout I once love again with a lot of natural lighting and how the kitchen is openly connected to the living room. first bedroom is gorgeous, as basically 2 walls are just completely just windows floor to ceiling, but the only downside is that it is way too small and has no built-in closet. Bedroom 2 is larger and has a closet, but it has a little bit less windows. Again, is very nice and modern. The amenities are what makes this place stand out to me. The lounge is stunning. In addition, the rooftop in this place is out of the world. The views of Manhattan and the Hudson River at this place is to die for. This place also has a gym and a tennis court, like what the hell? But unfortunately we didn't go with this one as one of the bedroom was way too small. Guys, hope that was helpful to some sort of extent. I know personally for me, when I was first trying to find an apartment, I was super confused, and I felt like something like this would have really helped me out. So especially if you're adulting for the first time, just graduated college, want to move to the city, this is hopefully the perfect video for you to not get scammed and not get eaten alive by bugs and find a decent place in New York without having to basically expense your entire paycheck. So hopefully this was helpful, and if you like this type of video, please like, subscribe, support, let me know what else you want to see. This channel is just a funnel of my creativity and my brain and all the things I want to do. Bye!